One-step equations. We have a couple of steps that you're going to follow to solve these equations. What is the first step? Locate the variable. The variable is what? Yeah, the letters that you see, right? Does it have to be any specific letter? No, anything. Okay. Um, Determine the operation tied to the variable. Okay, so what do we mean by operation? Yes, that's exactly right. Okay, so when we say operation, we're saying addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay, you'll even have in Algebra 1, they started working with seeing some exponents in there. Okay, and that can be part of it too. Number 3, what is step 3? Okay, Blaze, what's the inverse operation of adding? Yeah, yeah. Cynthia, what's the inverse operation of multiplying? Yes, exactly. Okay, so when I say inverse operation, okay, I'm saying the opposite of what's going on. So if A is being added to B, what's the opposite of that? Being subtracted, right? Okay, keep that in mind. It'll make more sense once you start going through them. Okay, so again, the inverse operations are for addition. The inverse is subtraction, and vice versa. Okay, and then the inverse of multiplication is division. Okay, so let's look at number 1. Okay, so our goal when solving equations is to isolate the variable. We're trying to get the x all by itself on its side of the equal sign. Okay, so I always start these problems with a line right here dividing my equation into 2 halves or 2 parts. Okay, I have x plus 7 on the left. I have negative 1 on the right. Okay, now I'm not insulting your intelligence. We're just going step by step. Which side is the variable on? On the left. On the left. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave the x on the left and we're going to move everything else over to the other side. Okay, so what do we need to move over to the other side? The 7. Okay, now this is the part where you have to determine the operation tied to the variable. So what interaction is happening with the x? It's being added by how much? By 7. What is the inverse of that? Subtract by 7. So what we're going to do is and now this is very important, okay? Now have y'all solved equations before? Y'all simplified, but y'all probably, I don't know if we've solved equations as a whole. Maybe some of you have, okay? I very rarely will tell you, hey, this is the way I'm writing it. This is the way you need to do it. This is one of those times, okay? I have a lot of Algebra 1 students that are really struggling with the solving equation stuff, and a lot of it goes to the way that they're doing the problem, literally the way they're writing out their work. Okay, a lot of you, when you're doing your work, you'll make a little mark right here, and then you'll mark up here, and then you got a mark right here, and then a mark right here, and then boom, there's my answer. And then if I say no, your answer's wrong, how easy is that for you to figure out? You went from here to here to here to here to here. Okay, is that going to be easy for you to follow? No. The thing about solving equations, okay, is being able to, oh, I made a mistake. Let me go back up to that last step and see where I went wrong. And then if you did everything right there, you go back up to the next step, see if that's where I went wrong. Okay, you can't do that if you're writing all willy-nilly all over the place and you have to do a scavenger hunt to find out where your work is. Okay, so the way that I'm writing it is the way I want to see it. I'm going to grade the way you do these problems, not the answer. I'm grading your work. Okay, so what did we say we needed to do? We're going to subtract 7. Okay, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Okay, and now I do some math. Okay, now on the left side, I have a positive 7 minus 7. What's going to happen there? Yeah, they're going to cancel out. I'm going to bring down the x. So now I have x equals, what is a negative 1 minus 7? Negative 8. Okay, now these are one-step equations. Did we do one step? Yes, we did. We are done. Okay, is x all by itself? Yes, you have x equals negative 8. Boom. Okay, now what's the other part of the direction say that you need to do? Check your solution. So you're going to split your box in half. Okay, and over here, you're going to rewrite the original equation once all the way through. And then the second time, I'm going to rewrite it, but instead of writing the variable, I'm going to leave an empty parentheses. If you do this, you will never plug it in incorrectly. Now, even though I'm saying this out loud, some of you won't do it. I understand that. But the biggest issue with plugging stuff in is messing up on signs like positive and negative and stuff like that. The parentheses will help you. Okay. Now, I have a blank parentheses in place of the x. What am I plugging in for the x? Negative 8. And now I just do math. Okay. Negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1 equals negative 1. Is that true? Little check mark means you checked it. We're good. If that last line is true, okay, you just read it to yourself. Does negative 1 equal negative 1? If I can say yes to myself, boom, I'm good. Okay? And that means you checked it. Any questions on number 1? Number 2. We have m minus 11 equals negative 9. Okay, so what's your first step? Sure, dividing it into 2. Okay, and the reason we're dividing it into 2 is so that we can do step number 1 to locate the variable, which is on which side. Then we do what? What is the operation? Subtraction. What is being subtracted from the variable? 11. What is the inverse of that? Okay, show me. The opposite or the inverse of subtracting 11 is adding 11. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. You're going to get sick of hearing that. Maybe you already are. What happens to the 11s on the left side? Okay, they cancel out. If I'm saying those words and you don't understand why the 11s cancel out, please listen. Okay? The point of doing an inverse operation, okay, or doing the opposite of whatever is on the paper is to cancel something out. Okay, if I have 5 of something, how do I make it 0? Take 5 away, right? Okay. If Pattison has 5 and I don't have any, okay, how do well, no, that's a bad example. Never mind Pattison. Sorry. Okay. So we have negative 11 on the left side, right? You want to get that to 0 so that you can move the 11 over, okay? So what happens to the 11s? They cancel out. You bring down your m. What's negative 9 plus 11? Positive 2. And then you check yourself. We got m minus 11 equals negative 9. And then I'm going to rewrite it with parentheses instead of the variable. Then in those parentheses, I will plug in a 2. And now I just do math. So I've got 2 minus 11, which is negative 9. Does negative 9 equal negative 9? Then we good. Okay, let's look at number 3, and then I want you to try some on your own. Well, here let's do number 3, and then we'll move to something else. So we have 9 equals 14 plus h. Okay, do the first 2 things that you need to do. Okay, whether it's thinking or actually writing. Okay, kind of go through the process in your head of the first 2 steps you need to kind of go through. Okay, step number 1, everyone should have this line drawn. Okay, if you don't, you're being lazy. Don't be lazy. Okay, what's the second part? Locate. Yeah, locate your variable. Okay, where is it? Now it's on the right side. Does that matter? No. What is being done to the variable? It's being added by how many? 14. What's the inverse of that? Subtracting 14. Okay, now this looks a little weirder because the 14 is in front now, right? Okay, so the 14 doesn't have a plus sign in front of it, but we do know it's positive 14, right? Okay, and we know based on the property stuff that we did last semester that the order of an addition problem doesn't matter. Okay, so if we take 14 away from the right side, what do we have to do to the left side? Take 14 away. Finish it out. Okay, on the right side, 14s cancel out. You bring down the h. You have 9 minus 14, which is -5. And you can square it in. Now, for the purposes of going through this lesson, okay, I'm going to tell you this now. It is not something that I'm going to count off for, okay? But writing your answer like this, okay, is not preferred. What would be preferred? Just flip it, okay? Variable comes first, and then your answer, okay? Now, both of those are correct. If you on your paper put -5 equals h, I will give you a 4, and I will move on, and I probably won't even say anything to you. But this right here is the way that you will see it written on any standardized test that you will see in the future, okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, I would like for you to do number 4 and number 6 on your own, please. 4 and 6, okay? Go through the process. Think about your steps. Is it all coming back to me? Okay, here's number 4, so you can check yourself. And number 6. Whoops. Okay, there's both 4 and 6. Everybody feel comfortable? What's up, Rod?
So on number 4, aren't you supposed to add, and you're supposed to do the opposite of add?
For the 15?
Yeah.
So that's a good observation. So this one is an addition problem, correct? Okay. But what is it adding? A negative. Okay. So anytime you're adding a negative, our brains need to be programmed to think that's subtraction. Okay. So we are technically doing the inverse operation, but what you need to think of as the inverse operation means, how do I get this number down to 0? Okay. So if I have negative 15, I need to combine it with what? Positive 15. Okay. So think, don't pigeonhole yourself into that's addition, I need to do subtraction. Okay. Because technically you could have done negative 15 minus negative 15. Okay. But I think that looks more confusing to me. Okay. But that is what we've been doing. Okay. Because that is the opposite operation of the same number. What happens when you subtract a negative? They just turn into plus signs. Okay. So that's a good question. It's just something that you're gonna have to work through and get used to seeing. Okay. It's a good question though. Any others? Number 6 was the kind of the same deal, right? You had a negative number, but it was an addition problem. Okay. Um, okay, good. Let's keep going. So now we've been working with addition and subtraction. We're going to get into multiplication and division. Okay. What's our first step? Do that. Okay, where's the variable? On the left. What is the operation being done to the variable? It is being multiplied. Okay, that 4 is a coefficient. Okay, so it is attached to the variable via multiplication. Okay, Cynthia, what's the inverse operation of multiplication again? Division. Okay, so we're going to divide by what? 4. We're going to divide by 4. Okay, whatever we do to one side, you have to do to the other. In pre-algebra for the rest of the year, you will never write the division sign on your paper. Okay, the little dot with a bar and another dot underneath. I don't want to see that no more. Okay, division problems are fractions for us. Okay, I maybe have already said that before, but especially now getting into this stuff. So we have 4a over 4. What is 4 divided by 4? 1, right? Does multiplying a 1 by this a change its value at all? No. So all you have left is an a, just what we want. Okay? when you have a number on top and a number on bottom and you're dividing them, okay, if they match, they cancel each other out. Okay, what is negative 24 divided by 4? There you go. Okay, then we're going to check. We've got 4a equals negative 24. I'm going to do 4 times a parentheses. In parentheses, I'll put negative 6. That's going to give us negative 24 equals negative 24, which is true. Okay? Try number 8 on your own. Just see how you do. If you feel uncomfortable trying the whole thing, at least try and do those first 2 steps. Okay? Locate your variable, split your equation, see if you can figure out what the inverse operation is. Okay, where's the variable? Yeah, on the right side. Okay, what is the operation being done? Multiplication. Okay, what's it being multiplied by? Negative 7. So what do we need to divide by? Negative 7. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. What is negative 7 divided by negative 7? P. What is negative 56 divided by negative 7? It is a positive 8, right? Negative divided by negative. Okay, and then make sure you check. You got negative 56 equals negative 7p. Negative 56 equals negative 7. And then in parentheses, we will have an 8. Negative 56 equals negative 7 times 8, which is negative 56. We good. Okay? Yeah.
How do you know if it's multiplication or division?
That's a good question. So you haven't seen a division example yet, so I'm about to show you, okay? Division examples will, I will say 95% of the time, have a fraction involved, okay? But I am about to teach you a trick to get rid of fractions for forever. Okay, fractions can disappear from your life. Mm-hmm. Blaze just heard disappear from your life and he's thinking about all the people he's about to make disappear. Yeah. I know you're playing. Okay. So this is an example of what Arad was just asking about. Okay. We have n over 5 equals 9. Okay. That looks nasty to me. Okay. We have a fraction with a variable inside. Okay. So I'm not going to call it a trick. It's just math. But I guess I am going to call it a trick because I'm not good at vocabulary. The trick to getting rid of a fraction is to do what? Do we remember? So all that's going to do is change our complicated problem into a different complication. And now instead of working with fractions, we're working with decimals. And I want to keep decimals out of it. Okay. So we're actually going to just turn this into a regular old number and get rid of the fraction. Okay. And how you do that is follow the same steps. Okay. First, identify my variable. We're over on the left side. Okay. And what operation is being done to that variable? It's being divided by what? By 5. What is the opposite of that? Or the inverse? Multiply by 5. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. Okay. So I'm using parentheses to multiply because I'm multiplying the entire fraction n over 5. Okay. Now what that gives me, let me show you what that looks like. Now what that gives me is 5n over 5 equals 45. Okay, I multiplied that fraction by 5. That 5 just goes on top. And now I have 5n over 5. What happens to the 5s on the left side? Yeah, think back to our operations on doing the multiplication up here. When we had like this 4 right here, we had a 4 on top and a 4 on bottom. What happened to the 4s? They canceled out, right? Yeah, to a 1. Same thing right here. So now we're just left with n equals 45. Okay, then when we check ourselves, we've got n over 5 equals 9. And I have parentheses over 5 equals 9. In parentheses is a 45. 45 divided by 5 is 9. Okay. Let's go ahead and do number 10. Okay, what's our first step? Okay, where is the variable? What's being done to the variable? Yeah. Okay, so what's the inverse? Yeah, multiply by negative 8. Multiply by negative 8. On the left side, that would give us negative 16. On the right side, that would give us negative 8r over negative 8. What is a negative 8 over a negative 8? Yeah. It is a positive also, but we are left with just r. And then we have negative 16. I ran out of room, but you could flip it around. Okay, either way. And then you go ahead and check yourself. Okay, I'll give you about 30 seconds to do the check real quick. Okay, check should look. Oh, my brain broke for a second. There we go. Like so. Okay, how do we feel? What's the number system y'all use? 1 is good, or like 3 or 4 is good. If y'all are showing me how well you're doing. What do y'all usually do? Okay, so give me a 4. Okay, if you feel like you could take a test over this right now and you would get an A, okay, or a 1 is you basically feel like we haven't started. You have no idea what we're doing. Okay, anywhere in between also. Okay, you can just give it to me. Good. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so here's what I want y'all to do. Okay, I would like for you to do 13, 14, 17, and 24. Okay, so only 4 of these. You can work on your schoolwork, yes. Number 13, 14, 17, and 24. After you finish your homework, yeah, absolutely.
Homework? But that's for home. So.
Oh, sorry, classwork.
So,
I misspoke.
what do you do?
How many games do y'all have?
I don't know who y'all is, but that one team, I think they should have.
That one team? You
But
know,
go and give me up the team.
okay, why is that?
That was my favorite team. This is 7th grade, so
Why is that?
Because she said that I was giving her too much attitude. But
Interesting. Well,
I don't see why. And she said that I've been doing it all year. If I was doing it all year, why would you bring it to the biggest tournament that we had? But
good question.
it was pretty funny to meet him.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. It was pretty funny. Because what she failed to tell Ms. Zahn was that she literally threatened us and she told us after the Bishop Carroll tournament, she told us, yeah, if it wasn't for me, there would be no girls team. So I suggest you fix all your attitudes. And she threw me under the bus that entire lecture that she gave us. So I was no. So therefore, how do you expect me not to have the attitude when you just had to throw me under the bus every second you do? Instead of standing up for me at that room game, she told me, leave, go. I don't want you on my team anymore. So she would never have back in the first place until Lizon came and she wanted it. His like team today. So
Well, I'm sorry all that happened.
I can't wait until I see them for the all-senior tournament. Because Daniel had to close up their butt for that one. You have to go against Climate
That's disgusting.
and Jamal.
that's disgusting.
Maybe being mad at Coach Bowen should be different than being mad at your teammates that are going to be playing without you and could probably use support instead of you laughing at them if they're going to lose.
No, I didn't. This stuff wasn't the case.
I'm not saying you were going to do that. I'm just saying you're mad at Miss Bowen, you're not mad at your teammates.
I know that.
So root for your teammates. Be a leader. If you don't know what that is, that's Patterson. Leader. Come on, Patterson.
I'm not a leader.
You're there as a captain, so I really don't have to root for anybody.
I wasn't there at the tap game. The one where you went all like Kimbo Slice on everybody. Kimbo Slice, like really famous UFC fighter. Kimbo Slice is just a name of a person. I don't know what to tell you. He was a fighter. What game are you talking about?
The tap game.
I mean, I don't know which one you're talking about. The one
on Monday?
The most recent one?
Yeah. It's yeah.
Okay, I'll start putting these up here.
I kind of think I know what this one.
You just figured it out just now?
Like she says that it was because of my attitude, but she had this plan all along, and I know exactly how she had it planned.
So her plan all along was to kick her best player off the team right before the city tournament.
That much is that.
Now, coming from someone who has coached in the past, I can tell you that going into a big tournament, I'm not thinking, which one of my really good players can I kick off the team?
No, but that's not what I mean. Oh my god, this is somebody. What's the answer on this?
Well, she kicked you off for attitude? What?
Wow, that's so weird.
I know, right? She picked me off for attitude.
Imagine.
Well, my only suggestion is to try and use it as a learning and growing experience and move on. You're very interested here. Okay, there's 13 if you want to check yourself. There's 14 also if you haven't checked it. I'm going to go fill in 17. I'll zoom out a little bit so that you can see it after I write it, okay? If you haven't checked 13 and 14 yet. Once you have done those, you may come and grab your classwork.
It's homework. You can take classes if you want to.
Uh-huh.
Stop writing and you will. Me too.
Jordan, you coming today? Okay.
Do we turn the classwork in?
Mm-hmm. Just to the basket, run. Grades were due last night. A lot of y'all are missing a bunch of IXLs. So most of the IXLs that are missing, I just have marked as missing and not as zeros right now. So those of you that see that you have a 100 in math, it's probably just because you turned one IXL in and not the other four. And so those are just missing. But once I convert those from missings to an actual grade, it'll be poopy. So make sure you're checking on that stuff, okay? Uh-huh. Like doo-doo, like in the toilet.
How low would I
Shut up.
Huh?
How low would I be?
If you did one IXL and 4 zeros out of 5, you'd have a 20.
Oh.
Not according to math. I'm just the messenger. No. If you do not finish it, it is homework. Mm. Mm-hmm.
And we work together.
Mm-hmm.